Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I would like to extend a warm welcome to our board members, our esteemed guests, His Excellency, Council General Abrar Hashmi. His beautiful wife, Ms. Abrar Hashmi, is here with her two lovely daughters. Thank you for joining us. We would also like to thank our two sponsors for tonight's events, Mr. Zahid Nizamani and Mr. Anil Siriwari of Liberty Insurance Group. Tonight is the third lecture planned in a series of events to foster stronger and greater relations between the US and Pakistan through constructive engagement and positive dialogue. We will start tonight's proceeding by playing the national anthems of the two countries, the US and Pakistan.
Sing and you see by the dawn's early light, but so proudly we hail, and the twilight's last gleaming, whose cross ranks and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, where so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, sing us that star-spangled banner yet wave, o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Now for Pakistan's national anthem. We are honored to have Council General Abrar Hashmi as a guest speaker, who will shed light and share his expertise. He has been a resource person on freshwater diplomacy, negotiated and implemented visa agreement and opening of trade gate with India. During his tenure, he brought Pakistani values to the fore, comfort and recognition for the Pakistani American historians and in other states under his jurisdiction. He is humble, articulate, approachable, and is present to represent Pakistan and the community above and beyond the call of duty. We thank him for his leadership and services to the American Pakistanis. Thank you, sir. I am privileged to call him Abrar Bhai and would like to invite a guest speaker for tonight, our Council General, Mr. Abrar Hashmi.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। बहुत शुक्रिया। I thank Sister Sarah Sheikh for this passionate introduction. This is an introduction from a family member, and I'm glad that I'm taking this and very graciously said about. And our association goes back to 90s, and that's a family in Houston. Once I and Ambassador Fawad Sheikh joined one professions after the other. So our association goes back almost 3 decades. So I had not even joined foreign service. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. And I also thank Dr. Javed Laghari, President Forum for Dialogue and Diplomacy, and all the distinguished ladies and gentlemen. And I'm joined by my better half, Samia, and our 2 daughters, Basma and Arish. And I draw a lot of strength from their presence and of their association. This is a distinct honor for me that I come after Ambassador Sadaq Amar and our friend Steve Pine, who have been the panelists before me. And such an august gathering today we have here, I would say this is an impressive cast which you have got here. They are few in numbers, but they are par excellence. So I'll be very careful in my remarks. I'll be brief. I'll try to be distilled, and we'll try to finish it, Dr. Sir, with your permission, in next 12 to 15 minutes. I'll keep it brief. What I'll do as a practitioner of diplomacy, I'll talk about few experiences and those things which I would say I'll go by your vision, and it's an excellent vision to understand the world we live in, and especially Pakistan-US relations. They are vital for Pakistan and US in the world, and more so for our 1 million plus community which lives here and 230 million people who are back home. This is very, very important relationship for us. And today with Dr. Javed Ashraf and the other intellectuals who are here, all of them, this is something which I would say of preeminence, that we use this space to set the dialogue and then move forward and then also develop our advocacies for certain causes over time. If we look back to Pakistan-US relations, in fact, we just celebrated 75 years of our diplomatic relations. US was amongst those countries which has inspired Pakistan's independence. So our relationship goes back even before independence. The set of values which US has set forth, espoused, and thrived on, they were the guiding principles, one of the guiding principles for our independence movement. So moving forward, the foundation of our relationship was strategic and economic underpinning. Strategic in a sense that we were in alliances in the 50s, being a fragile new state, we went into those alliances where US was our partner, and from building on, we went into the biggest green revolution, which had the biggest impact on rural Pakistan in making Pakistan self-sufficient in its food production, as well as our dependence and our excellence which we have achieved over time in our defense. Then the third was we made the world safer together. We made the world safer together. We fought the wars during the Cold War, after the Cold War, and even in the modern era where we have fought the war on terror together. And we were also partners in anti-piracy operations, to mention few. Then moving forward, now the legacy of cooperation in the new era where technology has set a new boundaries and new standards. So we are constantly transforming our relations, which have actually transformed the global relationship. Then the core principles on which Pakistan and USA have built its relations. I'm just setting the stage so that we move on to the next phase of it. The foreign policy was based on peace, regional equilibrium, strategic balance, shared prosperity, connectivity, and win-win partnerships. Pakistan has attached immense importance to its relationship with the US and over time has improved this relationship and enabling to build some of those strategic military as well as economic infrastructure. It has always been a preferred source of technology for Pakistan and know-how, and we feel it still remains. US still remains the favorite destination for Pakistani exports. Last year, our exports have jumped from $7 billion to $9 billion to US alone. So this is the largest trading partner even today. And $1 billion out of it was IT exports alone. So that's an emerging aspect of the relationship. So now moving forward, almost Pakistan's contributions and then moving forward to Afghanistan, since August 2021, once the US forces withdrew from Afghanistan, there was kind of an uncertainty and disquiet about the relationship. There were people who were calling, the realists were calling downsizing, right-sizing, and talks of that. And then realists, they came back, the pragmatists also came back and said, look, we need to perhaps explore new avenues of our relationship. And guess what? We have now recalibrated our relationship and the communication has improved, high-level visits have resumed, and we've also been cooperating. We thank US for its help during COVID, and I think 87 million doses have been donated to Pakistan by US, and another $97 million to help deal with COVID alone. And then recently we had devastating floods which were climatic induced, and during those floods also, and now post-flood, almost $200 million of help has been extended by the US, for which we thank. Now, Pakistan today, Pakistan-US relations, people will often ask you and think, are they hyphenated? For example, we have been often seeing it's Afghanistan, Pakistan, AFPAC, Pakistan, India, or now people are thinking, we are going to another hyphen, which is Pakistan, China. The good news is that our relationships have been de-hyphenated from all three neighbors of ours, and we look at Pakistan-US relations and US-Pakistan or Pakistan-US hyphen. And that's the good news which has taken place over the last 2 to 3 years. So we have now recalibrated, rejuvenated, reoriented our relationship, and it is a broad-based, wide-spectrum relationship where we have all the aspects coming together. And the best part is that recently US Ambassador in Pakistan has brought back a new idea wherein, if you remember the Green Revolution, so now there is a Green Alliance which has come back, and it has only been announced 2 weeks ago. So Pakistan and US have come back to a Green Alliance, and Pakistan and multilateral bodies has always been espousing, has been fighting, and Alhamdulillah at COP27, which was held in Sharm el-Sheikh, the Loss and Damage Fund was established after our diplomacy with multilateral bodies. And that's, we thank again to US help, and they accepted it, and now it has become a new norm. And that is the climate action diplomacy's biggest step, which we have taken in the last 2 decades or so. I will go back from Pakistan's relations. So there's one little thing that no one is asking Pakistan for the binary relationship. You choose China or you choose USA. Neither US is telling us to do so, nor China is asking us to do so. There are a number of countries in a similar situation as we are, such as Indonesia, such as increasing number of Middle Eastern countries. They all are in this situation. So it's the global center is moving, pushing, but US by far would remain the world leader, world power by many accounts for half a century to come. It's like an onion, to use the term which has been used in the foreign affairs recently. At the external front, it has those alliances, those collaborations, those values, those soft powers. Then internally, they have a very robust system where corporates, where liberties, where human rights, they excel. And then the capital stays here, then accrue it, and they have multiplied it. And the fourth pillar, which no country in the world has it, few countries may have it, is the people like you who link up. They can call Pakistani Americans, Ukrainian Americans, or these people can go back and really help US get the relationship in place. They can choose one person like Investor Sadakamar who can skillfully navigate the cultural boundaries and go down to the right people and start talking with him. So US has that biggest ability to do so. So these four strengths of US make it a formidable power, which it is right now, and it is likely to stay so by many accounts for at least 5 decades, if not centuries. So I will now go back to another idea that the World Bank has recently has published a report on Pakistan, Pakistan at 100. This is Shaping the Future is the name of the report. It says that Pakistan will be an inclusive society, innovation-driven economy, and pivot for trade and investment, inshallah. So that's what the World Bank says, and that's what our prayers is. And I'm sure for most of you who are in this room. Let's look at Pakistan of today. So what are those strengths of ours? First of all, people are normally surprised once you mention that we are the 5th largest population in the world. Then some 230 million people also have 80 to 100 million middle class. And then our median age is only 22 years. 4th largest number of Zoomers and millennials are in Pakistan. 4th largest English-speaking nation. Then we have 120 million broadband users, 184 million mobile users, and it goes on. And inshallah, very soon, and you must have seen the transformation taking place. That entire economy and system of Pakistan is digitized. As we speak, everything is being digitized. We ran the largest program, ESAS program, or basic income support program, whatever name you give it. We have run that program in a way that no other country has done it. The internally displaced people's help cash disbursement was done in a way no other country has done it. Within a span of 45 days, we were able to touch 32 million people. 32 million people were handed out cash during this last flood. So these are the kind of digitalization interventions which governance has brought. And coming back to local level, now almost, I was told that 90%, 92% of Pakistanis are in our database. So almost 95% Pakistanis are registered in our digital systems. So Pakistan already stands as 20 third largest economy by purchasing power parity, and it is 42nd by nominal figures. This is one way of looking at it. Then the second is the business ecosystem which is developing in Pakistan. And some of you in the room know that startups are mushrooming in Pakistan, and big startups and big American enterprises are also investing in it. And joint ventures are also investing into it. So now, where do we stand with respect to our future? We shouldn't be, I would say, mistaken. We shouldn't ignore our obligations. We need to skillfully navigate the conflicts which are arising in our neighborhood, which have been festering in our neighborhood. And that is, we have to have response mechanism. We need to have strategic stability, and these areas shouldn't become blind spots. And we need to, in fact, look at it in a way that it is very, very important that we oppose violent extremism, which is institutionalized in hatred, may that be religious hatred. And then bilateral and multipolar diplomacy on Kashmir stays as one of the most important parts. Without giving it a blind spot, we cannot progress. We cannot have normal relations in our neighborhood. So Pakistan, then coming back, the most, I would say, my favorite part, that is cultural diplomacy, the soft diplomacy. The way you carry yourself, the Pakistani Americans, the way you've excelled. So it is a manifestation of the fact that our people are par excellence, given that they are given level playing field, rule of law, and then they are really hardworking, and they have proven their mettle number of times here in US and elsewhere. So you are the bedrock, a bridge, a constant bond between the two countries, and one which is prospering, one which has its always focus on these things, where we are going. Your passion, sometimes your anxieties, sometimes those passion which drives our, should I say, day-to-day affairs, is seen in a way. For a person like me, I see it a love for Pakistan. Why can't we move forward? Why can't we correct our systems? But the good news is that we have overcome so many odds, and we will continue to do so. We are a resilient nation. We have overcome the war and terror. We have overcome, and we will be, inshallah, overcome the floods which have actually affected the population larger than California, an area larger than that of Colorado. So it's a huge, massive task. It's none of our doing. Our emissions are less than 1%. Whatever definition is taken, whether for the 100 years emissions or as US espouses, or this few of others, they take 92 as the base year. Even then, our emissions are less than 1%, 0.6%. So this is something which has been exported to us, and we have taken it, and now we are going back and constructively engaging international community, the countries, the big players, and scientific community, and we're asking them to get together as we have done at Sharm el-Sheikh. So that's the success, and we will continue our, inshallah, bit. And the good news is that US-Pakistan's people-centric relationship is one pillar where we see a large number of Pakistani students coming. There has been a growth of almost 20%. Exact is 17% There are 8,000 students who have come last year in US universities. By the way, those of you, most of you in fact, are here with academia. US attracts on average 1 million students from overseas. And out of 1 million, the largest source, in fact, 0.75 million or even more, were from only 3 countries. And you will guess those 3 countries. So Pakistan is catching up in a way that our people-centered relationship with US is embedded in, for example, health sciences here, academia, and businesses in other STEM areas of mutually beneficial cooperation, which Pakistan and US have certain dialogues going on. And out of those dialogues, there are 8 areas, 8 components where Pakistan and US cooperate. It includes now environment as well. So students and researchers from those areas are attracted here in the university, and they are hugely beneficial for Pakistan. To sum up, I would say, have faith in Pakistan, have faith in Pakistan-US relations. There is a compelling realization that we need each other. We deeply value the new energy in US diplomacy towards Pakistan, and we are reciprocating to it. There will be, as they say, a pot of gold at the end of Pakistan-US rainbow, inshallah. And with that together, we will, inshallah, turn this myth into a reality that Pakistan-US relations have endured like any other relationship. There have been ups and downs, but we have a lot of bright spots to look at it, and then from those bright spots, break through into new areas, new avenues where we can garner ourselves. And recently I was at an open retreat, not recently, almost 4 months ago, in Atlanta. And we came to know that USAID has brought a new program wherein they have now institutionalized that Pakistani Americans will be part and parcel for their development, their programs in Pakistan, and they have now a whole program which will be dedicated towards the priorities of Pakistani Americans in Pakistan. So there is a realization that we need to make them partners, and really nobody can understand Pakistan better than people in this room tonight or many like you elsewhere. And I'll end on one note that what we are missing within our cultural diplomacy or engagement. I think one component which we all realize once we look around on our tables, less two young ladies there is no youth in our dialogues. We need to bring our youth in a way that they feel part of it. They feel that they are gaining out of it. They think that they are not left out. Something of the sort, maybe we need to now think on reverse scholarships, sending kids from USA to Pakistan for cultural exposure. And so may that be a small institutional work we need to do with a set of universities in a way, in a special coalition, so to say. For example, universities around Houston. There are few of you who have been into the universities, and we request you to utilize your influence. We go back and we send some of our students to say Qaeda University, to NUST, to GIK, to LUMS, to IDA, wherein are these students, they do go, but not in an institutionalized manner. So once they have a degree, let's say of University of Houston, and they get 1 semester or 2 semesters in one of those universities, it will be a very, very rich degree not only for our students, but their parents as well. So I'll leave with this thought that we need to do some small projects where we can contribute, maybe from Houston. We have a concept paper already, and I can share that. Maybe a group of seniors, a group of experts can sit on it, and I can hand it over, and you can really make a difference by institutionalizing such a scholarship. And we already have spoken to a few banks. I'll not name the banks because they will then get after me. I can share those who are benefiting from RDA, Roshan Digital Accounts. Some of those banks have expressed their readiness to fund as much as 10 students. So let's start with something. We bring in youth, we bring in some green revolution, we do things in those STEM areas where we can make difference and move forward. And I'll end with this, that there would be a bit of an issue once we've digitized, for example, our consular services, our visa, our power of attorneys. But bear with us, and we will inshallah improve it. We piloted it one after the other. It has been a quick pace, and alhamdulillah, we've come to an age, and now, in fact, you do not need to visit us. Everything is almost online. But do not forget us, we are here in Houston. Thank you. Salam.
Thank you, Consul General Abrar Hashmi, on behalf of the Forum for Dialogue and Diplomacy. I will also take this opportunity for a minute to introduce the members of the Executive Committee as I see them, not in any particular order. Dr. Javed Ashraf, please stand up so people can know you. Dr. Ahmed Durrani. And of course, Sarah Vahid, Chair, was already here. Dr. Barkat Charania, Mr. Nasruddin Rupani, Mr. Harun Sheikh. And have I forgotten anyone, sir? Mr. Kamran Asdar, please stand up. Okay, and the sponsors of this program, Mr. Anil Serevan and Mr. Nizamani. Can you both stand up, please? Thank you. Well, this is the third talk, like Mr. Hashmi mentioned. Ambassador Sada Kambar is here, who actually kicked off the forum with his talk on divergent interests, crafty partnerships. Do I get it right? Was that the title? I think that started off with the relationship between Pakistan and US starting from 1947, literally almost up to the present time. And he was followed up with a talk by Mr. Stephen Payne, who particularly talked about 9/11 and the post-9/11, relationship between Pakistan and the US, which is, very literally goes on into a phase till, I would say, almost like last year, till the American pullout from Afghanistan. And currently, obviously, we have entered into a new sequence of partnership between the US and Pakistan. And of course, this partnership is very, I would say, has its ups and downs. Abrar Hashmi here, because he has spent the last few years in the United States, and he very well understands what are the factors that we really need, we as Pakistani Americans need to focus on that can bring the two countries together. So at this point, I would actually move into a QA session with Mr. Hashmi, and this will be like a very open session. Please feel free to ask whatever questions you wish to ask.
पहले तो अफसोस हो रहा है कि आप जा रहे हैं, और I think जितने भी साल you've been here, what I got the impression from everyone that you are very approachable, which is commendable, I must say. My question for you is, there were so many things going on in Pakistan regarding American policies and American relationship with Pakistan and America. And a few months, or you can say a year back, our relationship became topsy-turning and it went in another direction. So do you think that in the coming future, you think this relationship will come back to its track, which it was? And what do you feel about the Americans? How do they feel about all this relationship? I mean, we do have this understanding that things will work out and people are trying their best for it. But what do you think about the Americans? Because you must have met all of them during this crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. This, as you would have seen, that US has appointed its ambassador, full ambassador, after almost in last 5 years, only few months ago. So that's a very positive sign. We have come to an age when post withdrawal of US forces from Afghanistan, we've realized that we cannot make the region, the world safer without collaboration, without bringing new avenues, new ways to cooperate. And we are cooperating very closely. You must have seen the most positive outcome is that our relationships are now dehyphenated. We do not look at each other from a third country's lens. And that's a huge plus which has come to the fore in last, I would say, a year or so. So that's the realization. That's a pragmatic approach. And there would always be people who would call for extreme actions. After all, populism has been on the rise in the world in last 1 decade or so. So we cannot escape those kind of discourses. But finally, what is adopted as a policy that is important for us, and we're quite hopeful that our relationships are already in the right direction and they're heading towards cooperative outcomes, inshallah.
Thank you. Yes, microphone.
Assalamualaikum, I'm Farah Ahmed. Abrar Sahab, you've always been a very gracious host, welcoming us first into your home when you came to the Houston area, and you participated in every community event. I see you there, and that's something that we really cherish, and the person coming in after you, they have a high bar to live up to, so thank you for that and setting that course. I had a question. If you had a magic wand and you could change one thing about the US-Pakistan relationship to improve it, one thing, what would that be?
I'll not watch too much of mainstream media.
But still, I think we need to focus on one particular.
No, I think your question deserves an elaborate answer. This is off the cuff. But I tell you, what is, whosoever has visited Pakistan, I've been at a place where I was privileged to see at least all the diplomats who were coming into Pakistan. And whomsoever you send out from your friends to Pakistan, and they see it's not the Pakistan which is projected and seen and being shown and being aired on most of the media, unfortunately. That's number one thing which can change perceptions. And people sitting in this room and beyond, people like you, the well-meaning people, can tell them the reality. There are challenges. I'm not saying Pakistan doesn't have challenges, huge challenges to surmount, but it's not as bad as being projected in the media. So I will first concentrate on one thing which I need to do is, I think if we can change it, we can bring a reality prism on how people look at Pakistan, how Pakistan is being seen. We are the most hospitable people, most resilient people, hardworking. We have this set of values which is, I think, it is universal. We understand each other. We are the people who have the longest history of cohabitation in the world. You pick up the history books and you'll see the longest history of cohabitation with different races, with different religion, with different people speaking different languages, living. We have the longest history. To pick up Indus is the longest living history. So we are very resilient people. We are very hardworking people. People see it once you interact with them here in US, and often I get to hear those compliments on your behalf that there are, at least in Houston and South, what a community it is. It is, if the challenges are removed one by one, which exist, say in Pakistan or in our relationship, one by one, we can really be one of the shining examples, and we are already.
Yes. Question? Out there in the back.
Honorable, thank you very much for your remarks. Those are really enlightening. Just one question. To date, the US-Pakistan relationship has been transactional. It hasn't been one of bilateral mutual benefit. How do you go about changing that?
We look at it as transactional because of two major reasons. A, that US is a pragmatist. It looks at its relationship with every, like any other country. They look at it in a way that these broader set of values and their interests are served. No country in the world would be blind of their interests and concerns. So we are in a region, we are in a geography, and also the contestations of Cold War was such that world was divided into blocks. And after that, the world order has seen some unsettling multiple centers of power. And now that it is going and orienting in one direction, so countries have also set their own directions. So I would say Pakistan's relationship being hugely beneficial, mutual, win-win situation. Sometimes they looked transactional because we had a huge challenge to overcome. It was basically two eras of Afghan wars. There were those which were top priority of US wars in Afghanistan to bring peace, or once the war was going on with USSR, that became a theater and we became a frontline state. And then war on terror came, again we became a frontline state. So it looks like transactional, but it was mutually beneficial, and we have overcome it and fought it, and alhamdulillah, we both have been collaboratively successful. Sir.
Pardon? Yes. Questions? Okay, one there.
Quick question. Given the current economic situation that Pakistan is in, do you see a role for US in helping Pakistan resolving this situation?
What situation? You're referring to the economic...
The current economic mess that we are in.
Okay. I'll be very frank answering this question. Pakistan generally has two sets of issues. One is the political instability. The other is a very narrow tax base. If our economy was documented, if our economy was fully there, the numbers would have been very different. This is one of the reasons that whenever there have been crises, one after the other, you have not seen it coming completely. Because there's a huge undocumented economy. There are so many people who are taxable, they do not pay tax, that I admit it. This is the biggest failure of our system. We do not need to depend on external help as we are depending today. However, the situation we find ourselves now, we have found ourselves many a times. This is not something which we should look for, that we will have one more such cycle of crisis. However, we need to depend on our own strengths internal. We need to improve the tax base, period. The rest of these things which are coming, they will not sustain Pakistan. I'm afraid they will not sustain it. We'll have to find a way ourselves. US is helping, and I think if we call for help from our external partners, we'll call for help, avoidance of double taxation, declaration of assets, this sort of thing where we bring technology in and improve our tax base. I think that should be the way, and then skill set which we can get from US. No other country can give us that skill set which US has, especially in the capital market, that we can really benefit from. And we have benefited. Our banking system is geared in a way that we can immediately get linked. And RDA, its best example, the Roshan digital account once was launched. So people had faith in our digital base and they have invested in it. So things of those sort can really help Pakistan.
Okay.
My question is how USA looks at Pakistani atomic program right now, because there are so many rumors about that. Pakistani atomic program or atomic power, Pakistan being atomic power.
For a look, Pakistan is not the only nuclear power. There are others also. We have kept our interests by not signing NPT, the two protocols of it, CTBTs, because we thought that it was premature for our development, and there are other countries who did not sign it. So that was the pressure, basically. As you would know, there was an exclusive club which wanted to have its own monopoly. And it happens with every field, and it also has in high technologies. And if you see the contestation between US and China today, it's one of the technology wars. So it's a technology, I would say, which is the basis of that tussle. So that was there. I think ours is IEA has given the safeguards, and Alhamdulillah, there's no issue of that sort. Give us.
Post Second World War, we had Cold War camps, and we were aligned with the Western nations, particularly Liaquat Ali Khan came here back in 1948 or so, and Ayub Khan came, and it was great events. Fast forward, recently Ukraine and Russia, went overseas Russia, and Pakistan is basically China for a long time. How do we now see our relationship with China on one side and Russia, where Prime Minister Imran Khan was when the day Ukraine war started, versus today's situation where everything seems to be kind of fluid? How do you
Neither China nor US has ever asked us to choose one of the two. It's not a binary relationship. And that is the skill set we need to bring in, inculcate, that we do look at the imperatives of US and they appreciate our imperatives. And our calculus and their calculus is appreciated and understood. So Pakistan was the country which has bridged the US and China in the 70s. And I remarked earlier, I was interviewed by Atlanta Global, and I said, count on us today as well. So we would be a bridge, inshallah, moving forward. If that contest reaches a level, both countries, by the way, understand it very well. The recent summit between President Biden and Xi in Bali is one of those examples that they will not let their relationship go on a roller coaster. They will manage it, and that is, I think, the biggest takeaway of the age we are living in, that we need to keep our relationship in a managed way. And nobody has ever asked us, Pakistan, that we need to choose one of the two. And we have navigated through, and we will, inshallah, skillfully move forward. And we will keep good relations with the US and China. That is our hope.
Let me add, if in this binary equation we now throw in Russia, looking at the current situation in Ukraine, because Pakistan or a number of other countries around the world have been under pressure not to do trade, particularly like for gas and oil with Russia. What should be Pakistan's position in that case if we were to have cheaper gas or cheaper oil from Russia?
These relationships cannot be built overnight, I would say. The countries who already had good relations with Russia, nobody stopped them. The number one beneficiary of that scheme is still India. The second is Netherlands. Third is Turkey. So if we were in that position, we would have also benefited out of it. So basically, the trade in such relationships go where there is benefit. It tends to follow that path. And I would say if we were in a position to benefit, we could have benefited. But since our orientation and our sources of procurement for oil and gas, wherever they were, we are almost packed. And it's a long-term contracts which we had with many countries. We could have not overnight just moved out and went into another one. We are trying to diversify our sources of especially oil and gas. And for almost 25 years, you know better than me, the TAPI gas and IPI gas pipelines and all those have been under discussion, but they have not taken off. So we have tried to diversify, but still that has not been achieved. So all of a sudden, if we wanted to go in, I think it was a difficult call.
Yeah, let me throw in one more spanner here, which is Iran. I think it would be most feasible for Pakistan to import gas and from Iran. However, because of the American sanctions, we have not been in a position to do that, even though the gas pipeline has been completed up to the Pakistani border. But Pakistan has not completed that because we have been under American pressure not to do that. Is that correct? And what is the way out?
You're absolutely correct. Iran, Pakistan, India pipeline was one of the most promising thing which could have brought interdependencies of the three countries. And hence, once we have interdependencies, then we tend to stay closer in our relationship in political realms and others. So we now have a symbolic 100 megawatt share. What now our grids are connected, by the way. So the electricity which is coming, I understand, to Panjgur and Turbat is coming from Iran. And by the way, there's a huge market which is of Iranian oil and diesel and everything which comes to Pakistan. If it is regulated, of course, the payment clearance system, which is because of the sanctions and other things, is complicating. But we have brought the dialogue on the table, both with Iran and US, and there is certain cooperation which is taking off. And the most promising one is that we got the grids connected. Our electricity grids are now connected. Thank you.
Honorable Council General and everybody, Assalamu alaikum. I'm DJ Khanswati, and my question was already half of the question uske aapne jawab de diya because he asked the same thing. And one thing I say that, as you said, Pakistan is really a beautiful country because I travel almost twice a year, not only one place, all over Pakistan. So जो media कहते हैं, that's totally different what the real reality in Pakistan. So my question is that even our neighbors in West, we have Iran and ऊपर अफगानिस्तान, रशिया की आपने already बात कर ली. And my question is कि क्या वजह है कि अपने neighbors के साथ relationship, we cannot have it openly while they are restricted or while they are controlled by US or by anybody else.
That's where the $1 million question is. That so Adisa, you know a lot better that India-Pakistan's relationship or the relationship with Iran or relationship with Afghanistan, or we have a policy of peaceful neighborhood, and we have always been calling for dialogue and diplomacy. With Afghanistan, I need not to say anything because Americans, as Pakistani Americans, you know a lot more than I know. With China, we have excellent relations. With India, we are managing our relationship. With Iran, we have ups and downs, but we have peaceful relationship. And with, by the way, all neighbors, we have good trade. The numbers now have reduced with India, but we had one time almost $2 billion worth. Now with Afghanistan, we have more than $2 billion worth of trade, and that with Iran. And China is, I'm forgetting the figure, but it's almost $7 to $8 billion. We do have, but this region, if you go back in history, I need not to mention, but it is such that it is not interconnected. Because of the great games or whatever, because of geography, because of our different systems of governance, I think we're not that connected as we should have been. Now that regionalism, the regional blocks are on the rise, there has been an effort under SARC, there has been an effort that we now ECO is member on the west and to the east. So those blocks do exist, and they have the structures in place, but unfortunately physical infrastructure and those of the systems, it has been lacking less with India, where the relationship would have taken place, but they are hamstrung because of other reasons. I hope I answered the question. Ji.
Yeah. About Iran, let me share with you, like for example, petrol is all over in Pakistan, they say very expensive. Why don't people from Gwadar and Quetta and other areas, because there's so much smuggling from Iran, you know. So why can't this be like properly, we cannot import? Because the smuggled petrol is so cheap there, you know. People from that area of Rustan, including Gwadar, they have no problem.
And that's why I use the word regulated.
Thank you. Yes, Ira.
सॉरी मैं एक और सवाल
जी, जी।
मेरे जहन में आ गया था। आप जा रहे हैं और एक नए एम्बेसडर साहब भी आए हैं और नए कौंसलर जनरल आएंगे, तो ये जो बाइडेन साहब हैं, इन्होंने हमारी प्रीवियस गवर्नमेंट जो हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर थे उनसे बात नहीं की, अभी जो आए हैं उनसे बात नहीं की, तो व्हाट हैव यू और द न्यू एम्बेसडर हैव डन कि ये जो एक लोग हमसे सवाल करते हैं पाकिस्तान में कि वो तो हमसे बात ही नहीं करना चाहते, तो इस जब तक वो हमारे साथ बात नहीं करेंगे और नजर नहीं आएंगे हमारे किसी प्राइम मिनिस्टर के साथ, किस तरह से आप समझ सकते हैं कि चीजें आगे बढ़ेंगी?
हम किस मर्ज की दवा है, हम जो है डिप्लोमेट्स हमसे बात करेंगे ना, उन्होंने अपना वहाँ इन्वेस्टर जो भेजा हुआ है, आई एम जस्ट सेइंग इट फॉर द सेक ऑफ इट कि हम लोग किस लिए हैं डिप्लोमेट्स, हमारे थ्रू बात करेंगे तो थोड़े से फिल्टर लग के बात होगी, ऐसे ऑन द लाइटर साइड. But to be honest, the diplomacy, the art of diplomacy is sometimes you have to be quietly you interact with, you build confidence, you go to a level, and then that's what we do constantly, every day in and day out, we do that. And the US ambassador, US consuls general are in place in Pakistan, and we are also here in place, and we do talk to each other, and we make it happen, and we smoothen the relationship. That's our job. Thank you.
I think That will be one last question. Okay, two last questions. Sorry, sir.
नहीं बिल्कुल आप
Please. Microphone is coming there.
लजारी साहब उस्ताद हैं, ये बिल्कुल आज पूरे करेंगे मेरा टाइम।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम। मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है कि क्या इमरान खान ने यूएस पाकिस्तान रिलेशनशिप को ज़्यादा डैमेज नहीं किया, और दूसरा है कि जब हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर के पास अख्तियार इतने नहीं है कि वो कोई फैसला कर सके, तो यहाँ पे एम्बेसडर या कौंसल जनरल होते हैं, उनके पास क्या अख्तियार है कि वो पाकिस्तान के फैसले यहाँ कर सकें, या उनको इतनी क्या फ्री हैंड है? जबकि इंडिया के जो एम्बेसीज हैं उनके जो सफीर हैं उनको ज़्यादा अख्तियार होते हैं, उनकी ज़्यादा परफॉर्मेंस होती है, जबकि पाकिस्तान वाले को ऐसे महसूस होता है, ना सोशल मीडिया पे तो होते हैं, ना लोग जो पूछते हैं उनकी कोई मदद करते हैं, वो ऐसे लगता है कि सिर्फ टाइम पूरा कर जाते हैं। तो आप क्या समझते हैं कि अपनी परफॉर्मेंस इतना अख्तियार है कि आप अमेरिका से बात कर सकें और अमेरिका से अपनी शराइत मनवा सकें?
शराइत मनवाने का तो मुझे नहीं पता, शराइत तो शायद सामने यहाँ बैठी है, मैं इनसे भी नहीं मनवा सकता। ठीक है, तो आप भी अपने यहाँ से पूछें, लेकिन आई थिंक दिस इज़ मॉडर्न सिस्टम ऑफ गवर्नेंस एंड डिप्लोमेसी वर्क्स दिस वे दैट वी डू टॉक, वी कम्युनिकेट, हाई लेवल विजिट्स होते हैं। वो जो इख्तियारात की बात है वो हम अपने प्रीव्यू के अंदर हम जो कुछ कर सकते हैं वी डू दैट, एंड आई वुड से दैट वी हैव डन ओवर टाइम अ वेरी गुड जॉब ओवर, देखें managing the relationship, especially once they were going through those tough lows, and we brought them that we never ever had those periods where we did not have communication going on. That's the most important part in any country's relationship with the other, that we get the communication going. We keep talking at different levels. May that be at the level of people, at parliamentarians, at policymakers, or even in leadership. Sometimes the ground is set at a much lower level than the leadership. So that's what the beauty of multiplicity of these communications is, that we have those relationships at people's level, at corporate leader, at policy, at parliamentarians, and then it goes up. So those are the kind of relationships we foster. We garner interest and support, and you must have seen that while we were here in the aftermath of floods, climatic induced floods in Pakistan, didn't you see that we were able to garner that support? We tell people that we are in pain, we have issues, 33 million people have been impacted. Didn't we tell the people, and didn't the mayor of Houston go out in his support? Didn't the governor go out and said something? Where from that communication has been going? So those are the communications which you need to see at a level where we operate. But to see that, you need to get into discourses. And these are the discourses which work in a different way. But from a plain sight, you may not see them.
That is, आप खान साहब के पास जाना पड़ेगा आपको।
Okay. One last question, please. Rupani साहब, please. That is last question.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone here. मेरा क्वेश्चन भी लंबा होगा।
Please.
क्वेश्चन भी है।
थोड़ा माइक करीब कर दें।
Sorry, thank you. So मेरा क्वेश्चन शायद लंबा हो जाए, क्योंकि I think I have a question, concern, and a desire all at one time. So, तो मेरा वैसे एक सवाल ये है कि हम अपने मीडिया को कैसे चेंज करें कि वो पाकिस्तान के लिए अच्छा बोले। मैंने आज तक ना पाकिस्तान में देखा है ना यहाँ देखा है कि our media does not talk good about Pakistan, and not even Pakistani. I have not even found a single Pakistani who would go talk good about Pakistan. I'm sorry to say that. So we need to basically address this. There are media in Pakistan, media here, and in our homes. We must talk good about Pakistan. And
I don't know how we can change that, because if we are proud of our country, then we should be talking good about it and stopping anyone who talks about it. If anybody talks bad about Pakistan, we should stand and say, this is not good. We should be proud of what our country is. And that's what I think my major concern is, that हम इवन जब दोस्त यार बैठते हैं तो हम पाकिस्तान की बुराई करते हैं और पाकिस्तान की अच्छाई के बारे में कोई नहीं जिक्र करता। हालांकि we have so much to give. I just saw yesterday, mashallah, in the entire Gilgit-Baltistan, they're celebrating the winter, a kind of Olympics all around north. It is high time that we talk good things about Pakistan. So my concern, you heard it, and also the thing is, we need to see how can we also highlight Pakistanis here in the US. They're doing a wonderful job here. They're doing amazing work. Go to Silicon Valley. There's, I think, hundreds of Pakistani companies. They're doing wonderful here. But we never highlight. We see a lot of Pakistani working in White House. Nobody talks about it. How do we highlight those? I mean, recently you saw a Pakistani has been appointed several places, but it's never highlighted. So how do we address that? Thank you.
So right, this is you're echoing what I wanted to say already. अगर हम 80% या 90% लोग अपने आप को ही बुरा भला कहते रहेंगे, तो जो सुनेंगे वो भी यही बात करेंगे। अब whenever we sit together or we sit with other communities and broader communities, ये फैशन बन चुका है कि हमने किसी को बैशिंग करनी। तो somewhere fact finding things, we need to talk with the facts, as they कहते हैं empirical evidence के साथ बात करने की ज़रूरत है। और बहुत सारी चीज़ें जो अच्छी हो रही हैं वो दब जाती हैं, उस पर बात नहीं हो सकती। सो जो आपकी डिज़ायर है वो मेरी भी डिज़ायर है, जो आपका कंसर्न है वो मेरा भी कंसर्न है। मैंने किसी के जवाब में कहा कि मीडिया जो है वो बात नहीं करता जो कि ग्राउंड पे है। हाँ, ये ज़रूर है कि हम जो जिस तरह सक्सेसेस हैं, एक्सेलेंस है, जो अचीवमेंट्स हैं, वो उनको हम सेलिब्रेट करते हैं। हम 2 दिन पहले भी वी वर ऑल इन ऑस्टिन एंड आई थिंक we had the largest presence, the biggest presence of any representatives. We had, mashallah, we celebrated both Dr. Salman Lalani and Salman Bujani's presence in Austin, and that's one of the cusp we have achieved over time, that we are now present in at least the Texas Assembly. So you are being seen, celebrated, and joined by many, including I was there and many back home in Pakistan. So that is not unnoticed. The good work being done by our community here in Houston or elsewhere in USA, rebel parades in Islamabad is being seen from Karachi, from Lahore, from Peshawar, and they really look up to you for many things. And trust me, philanthropy is huge. That's in our one of the things which is, we are a giving community. We are a portrait of a giving community. But that's beyond. That's your skills. That's the hope, that the bond which you give them. That's the biggest thing they want. And I think most of you are doing larger than life contributions, and that is highly valued, and we look at it as the contributions which is made by civil society in general, and especially it is the largest reservoir of skills and resources which exists for Pakistan overseas. That's in US. That's here in USA. And thankfully, so far people like you and many are linked with good causes they're helping in a huge way. And I think the other day I was talking at a small gathering that we need to pick small projects and move and make them a success instead of going in big projects and getting some kind of dejection where we do not see the impact happening. So we need to adopt small village, we need to adopt a small hospital, we need to get into a university and make a block. And that's where the impact is seen, and you will instantly see that people's lives have changed for better. Once the lives have changed for better, that's where you will feel that you are contributing to it. And I 100% agree, whenever such things happen, the media is not the medium, not the way to look at it. Go down and see for yourself. It's a beautiful country. It has, you all have come from it. You have nostalgia for it. Live it and celebrate it. Thank you.
Well, even though the class period is over, but I see one hand continuously up from the back. So please make it very short. And this is absolutely the last one. Barki Saab.
Assalamu alaikum ji. First of all, my apologies. I was late. That's why, I didn't want to enter the conversation in the middle. Very good questions. Couple of them kind of touched me. That's why I thought I will raise my hand and make a request also. First of all, Rupani Saab ne badi achhi baat ki ke hum, we bash Pakistan among ourselves, I think, more than we do with our American friends. And I think one of the reasons is that we feel the pain for Pakistan. That's why among ourselves we are always complaining, because we want a better Pakistan. We want to do something that's helpful for Pakistan. Inshallah, as things improve, our thoughts and our actions will change also. But what I really wanted to address was the question of how can we help with our relations here in the US, Pakistan-US relations. We talked about philanthropy, abhi Ambassador Consul General Saab ne bhi kaha. We are all, you all have been involved, everybody in this room. We are one of the most generous communities when it comes to donating to causes. We want to build hospitals, we want to build schools in Pakistan, we want to have masajid, everything. But I'm sorry to say, when it comes to donating for political purposes, we fail as a community. And I dare say, stand here today and I dare say, living here in the US, politics is directly connected to funds. If you don't have the money to convince somebody to go to a politician, put some money in his pocket or his fund, nothing will happen. And I hope I'm wrong, but that's how I've seen it. So what I'm getting at is, we are all culprits here. How many of us are committed to a political action committee here in the US, a Pakistani political action committee that will go and try to convince a congressman, a senator, a lawmaker to do something good for Pakistan? And we'll only be able to do it once we have money in that political action committee. And you know where I'm going with this. So please, next time a political action committee person comes to you and asks for a donation, I know it's not tax deductible. That's why it's difficult to give money to these causes. We all like to give to Namal and Shaukat Khanum. I do that. And you're all very generous. But let's start giving money for political purposes and we will see a change in Pakistan-US relations.
This is something which a political advocate would say I'm a student of advocacy, have been a student of advocacy. So that part may not merit a response. That response is embedded in it. But one thing is, I have said in my statement, once you feel pain, that's your passion. And I fully endorse it. Once something is not going right, they feel pain, and that is a sign of passion for this community, the attachment with Pakistan. And then it is highly appreciated, the philanthropy, but I say go beyond it, impart skills. Tell them, how to swim, how to get out. The skill employability in Pakistan is now, I think, once we move from geopolitics to geoeconomics, we need each individual, each youthful person who's coming to workforce contributing to it. And that's where we can, I think, with our skill set here in this room and beyond, we can contribute in a big way. Thank you.
Well, sir, just some last closing words of wisdom and advice for the forum.
I don't need to give any advice of wisdom, but I can appreciate the work you do. There was a space which is available for such a dialogue, and the people like you and many in the rooms, they have a long history of proven track record, history, skills. They can come together, bring that wisdom into action, and bring out 1, 2, 3 doable projects, informing the people around the community. And then I know you have put it down here, and you can act as a bridge between the learned people here in this community with the broader institutions. A lot of resource, we can all benefit from it, and then we can build on it. And you are, mashallah, doing it's a very, very good beginning, highly appreciated, and people like all of you have come together and brought the collective wisdom to some action, fruition. I think something good is coming out, will come out, and I pray that this journey continues on a positive trajectory. Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for being so passionate. I was expecting these questions, and I hope that some of them are quenched, some of them are bounced back, and that's not, I've been very frank, but I tell you, sometimes diplomats ought to do those things where we are generally very straight and honest, but once we think that somebody is asking a question which is not in our purview, we don't say, I do not have comment. We just say, this is how we can do ourselves. So that's it. Thanks for having me, and thank you very much for this session.
Well, thank you.
Happy?